I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any public comments on anything that's not on the agenda and not subject to public hearing? None in, Pam?
Hi there, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and Hanukkah. I hope everyone stays safe and happy and enjoys family and friends over this next holiday season coming up. I just wanted to follow up on a question I asked the town board last week about whether or not the hazard mitigation plan is going to become an element of or an appendix to the comprehensive plan, and I wondered if you had an answer to that.
I did not have a chance to follow up on that.
Yeah, no, neither did I.
Yeah.
But I'll send you an email.
We will.
I'll look it
We'll
up
keep
and
that.
I'll send you an email.
Yeah, we'll keep that front and center. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Ken, I see you have your hand up.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to make a quick sort of public service announcement here. After we just had our recent first winter storm, everything went well out there. But I would just like to remind the public and ask for their cooperation when we're in those sort of storm situations. If everybody can be mindful of not parking any vehicles on the street or any trailers or any other type of thing that could be out there. Basketball hoops sometimes are mobile, basketball hoops are around. If they can just be mindful of that kind of stuff, it just makes the job a little easier for the guys when they're out there to have, not to have to worry about an obstacle on the shoulder, especially when it's snowing in the middle of the night and they're out there. Visibility can be tough. So just to help out with our efforts out there, I just like to remind the public, if they can, just keep the laneways clear for us during the storm. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to the item agenda number 2, which is Green Options Committee is here to present their ETIP findings, or preliminary findings, I guess. Yes. So, Tim Pertell, the chair of our Green Options Committee.
Tim Pertell, chair of the Island Town Green Options Committee. And I just want to say that in the audience today, we have 2 other members of the committee, Don D'Amato, who will be also jumping up and explaining some of data if needed, and Charity, who can also pipe up when she feels like it seems necessary. And I think Christina Herman, another member of the committee, and maybe Steve Sanders.
Steve Sanders just joined.
Okay. Okay, we can start with the first slide. I'm going to read from here because my glasses don't function right now. So excuse me for looking down. So I'll get to, yes, this is what the program will be. An overview, energy overview for Shoulder Island, solar and storage opportunities, additional renewable energy opportunities, residential case studies, frequently asked questions, and then there's an appendix at the end. And by the way, this, if everybody is in agreement, doesn't have any questions that would, for NREL, that would need changes to this deck, which was created by them, we can post this online for the public. So first, I just want to give an overview of what ETIP is and what it does. ETIP stands for Energy Technology Innovation Partnership Project. And I'm just going to read this because it explains again. The U.S. Department of Energy's Technology Innovation Partnership Project, ETIP, works alongside coastal, remote, and island communities that are seeking to improve the resilience, affordability, and reliability of their energy systems. ETIP's
I'm wondering if there's
Just sitting?
yeah, I was just gonna say some of the Zoom audience is having trouble hearing you. So do you want to sit where Amber usually sits?
Oh, okay.
And then you've got a microphone right
having
there.
trouble hearing me?
No, we aren't, but in Zoom.
Oh,
Just got a
okay.
text message that's hard to hear, so.
Never
That will,
I can hold this up. The U.S. Department of Energy, DOA, Energy Technology Innovation Partnership Project, ETIP, works alongside coastal, remote, and island communities that are seeking to improve the resilience, affordability, and reliability of their energy systems. ETIP helps these communities overcome the unique geographical and logistical challenges that limit their access to affordable, reliable, and secure energy resources. This technical assistance program applies a tailored approach to each participating community, leveraging the experience and expertise of its partner network, a broad coalition of local stakeholders, regional partners, national laboratories, and DOE offices. ETIP helps communities identify and implement solutions that suit their particular needs. And at this point, I just want to give some thanks to some of our partners in this project. Shelter Island thanks the Island Institute, which is the Department of Energy's East Coast regional partner, for their invaluable organizational support and guidance during this project. In particular, we thank Kate Kablansky for her support and guidance. Kate recently was a speaker at the Reporters Island Vulnerabilities Forum. We look forward to continuing our collaboration with her and the Institute. We also thank NRELS, the National Laboratory of the Rockies, that's what it's now called, Brian Metlick and Rebecca Meadows and their team for their dedication, guidance, and exposing us to new concepts. Okay, next slide, please. Shelter Island's ETIP project. In 2023, Shelter Island was selected to receive technical assistance from ETIP for a year and a half. Green Committee members Don Tomato, Christina Herman, Tim Pertel, Charity Roby, and Steve Sanders, as well as Sarah Gordon, and Town Board liaisons Meg Larson and Ben Diet, met twice a month with members of the department's National Renewable Energy Lab, again, now called the National Laboratory of the Rockies. These were the Shelter Island ETIP objectives. Select the optimal placement of renewable distributed energy resources within the community and potential battery storage solutions to increase energy resilience. Access the resource potential for solar and battery storage, as well as geothermal and tidal energy. Coordinate results with the town, the school, and residents. And I just want to make a note about all the data in the presentation. It all came from NREL. And as we move forward with their recommendations, we will need to get more precise information from contractors as we move along. Next slide. This is a photograph of Ridge Hunt and John Nicolak at the North Ferry. Before we began the project, Kate Kablansky and Jamie Cook from the Island Institute, which by the way is in Maine, visited Shelter Island in the fall. They toured the recycling center, the school, town buildings, and met with Cliff Clark and Bridge and John. So it gave them sort of a on-the-ground idea of who we are and what our needs are.
They also met with Jim Reed.
Pardon?
They also met with Jim Reed.
Yes, and we also met with Jim Reed and anybody else?
Went to the recycling center.
Yeah, we met with Ken and Brian. So we met with a lot of people on the island. They were here for 2 days. And the school. Thank you. Anyway, the point is they met with a lot of people on the island to get a really sort of good grasp of who we are. Next slide, please. Here's a brief picture of Long Island's energy supply. Power is supplied from the Long Island Power Authority LIPA grid by underwater cables that run from Greenport to Shelter Island on the north side and from North Haven to Shelter Island on the south side. LIPA contracts with PSE&G to contract the electrical grid. In 2022, Long Island's electricity resources were primarily from fossil fuel powered plants, that was 43%, followed by imports, 34%, nuclear, 14%, and fossil fuel peakers at 4%. Solar provided just 5%, but this was in 2022. The vast majority of Long Islanders, nearly 90%, heat their homes with fossil fuels. We zoom in on Shelter Island from 2019 to 2023. Annual electricity consumption on the island was 33.5 gigawatts?
Gigawatt hours.
Gigawatt hours. The residential sector accounts for most, 88.5% of the island's electricity consumption. Summer usage, not surprisingly, is 2 times the winter usage due to seasonal influx of residents and tourism. While only a small percentage of homeowners have installed solar and heat pumps, there are definite financial advantages to installing one or both technologies, as we shall see in several case studies. This is true even without financial incentives. Next slide, please. This chart just shows you the peaks and valleys, and by month, so you can see where the valleys are in the winter months, and then the peaks are in the warmer months. And this chart combines residential and commercial. I think the commercial is the lighter blue and the residential is the darker blue. This is from 2019 to 2023. Shelter Island's specific energy resilient needs. Outage data provided by PSEG shows that on average, over the past 5 years, Shelter Island experienced 1 to 4 outages, ranging in duration from 0.6 to 3.7 hours, depending on the circuit. However, as the photograph shows, we've all been through a hurricane or other extreme weather events that knock out power for 1 or more days. At the recent reporter forum, Jim Reeves advised all residents to prepare for 72-hour outages. While town buildings have emergency generators, as do businesses and some residents, many residents do not have them. Outages can impact water access, heating and cooling, and medical devices. Next slide, please. And so these are some of the, so in the beginning, the team focused on a number of locations on the island. So 8 sites were originally considered for solar and battery storage installations. A preliminary analysis was conducted for the sites, providing solar and storage sizes that minimize cost and emissions. 3 sites were subsequently chosen for an in-depth analysis: the school, the recycling center, and a typical residence. No federal or state financial incentives were included in the analysis, given the reality that renewable energy subsidies can be revoked by policymakers. So in the next slide, we'll just show you those 8 locations: residential, the recycling center. Above, we have Sylvester Manor, fire station, Legion Hall, the police station, the school, and the community housing. Those are the 8 sort of preliminary sites. And then, as I said, they focused on 3 sites. One of them was the school. As the island's emergency shelter, the school can benefit from all the recommendations made by the ETIP analysis, including the value of an energy audit. All scenarios surprise significant cost savings with payback periods of 11 years or less. Adding storage can provide up to 5 hours of backup power. And there's an asterisk here that says this depends upon the battery charge, demand, and solar generation at the time of the outage. There is significant reduction in fuel costs and CO2 emissions from an air source heat pump. Energy efficiency measures do not reduce solar size, as a limiting factor in all scenarios is available roof space. Rate structure 285, which is the commercial rate, provided the most cost savings across all scenarios. And then they put together a chart, which, if you have any questions about, or if you want me to read the chart.
Christina, can you advance the slide, please?
Next slide.
Next slide. Or-
No, we haven't seen it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you could just maybe summarize.
Okay, if you want to, anything you want to add?
Okay, well, let's see. What the slide shows is the photovoltaic array size in kilowatts for various configurations: solar, solar plus battery, solar plus air source heat pump, and solar plus energy efficiency measures. It also, for one of them, shows a battery size in kilowatts capacity of output. I guess the two bottom lines are or the three bottom lines, they all have a payback period of 10 years. The annual cost savings, as you can see, are quite substantial in several tens of thousands of dollars per year, up to perhaps almost to 70,000 per year. And the lifetime avoided emissions of tons of CO2 per year are also substantial, with the air source heat pump being much larger. So,
That's good, thank you.
okay.
Thank you. More eloquent than I would have been. What if I should jump to the Slinky? Well, I'll go in the order we're in, and then we'll come back to the school again with another concept. The recycling center analysis key findings. All scenarios provide significant cost savings with payback periods of 10 years or less. Adding battery storage could provide up to 5.6 hours of backup during power outages. Again, this depends upon battery charge demand, solar generation at the time of outage. Maximizing available roof space. So the two photos show the highway department maintenance facility that has a potential annual generation of 127 megawatts per hours. Megawatt hours, sorry. Recycling shed potential annual generation is 88.8 megawatt hours. Up to three of the following meters could be offset using only the rooftop for the highway department building. The highway department maintenance facility, 44.5 megawatt hours per year. The recycling shed, 23.4 megawatt hours per year. The police department, 49.7 megawatts a year. And the Legion Hall at 19.9 megawatt per year. So putting solar on the buildings would actually provide even more of a benefit, not just to the recycling center itself.
It's called remote net metering. It's not entirely clear which circuits can be involved, but it appears that up to 3 additional circuits can be used to offset the energy generator, or to use effectively the energy generated.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Christina. I just want to jump in here. I think the limiting factor is who owns the meters. So any town electricity demand could be offset by the electricity produced at the recycling center. It's the ownership of it. So that's good news.
And one very minor point on the bullet 2, of course, there is a generator at the highway department building. So that assumes no generator, just a battery backup, of course.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was in the slides, but all the municipal buildings, the recycling center, et cetera, they all have generators. Just want to reiterate that. And then the recycling center building analysis, do you want to take us through the chart, John?
Okay. Well, let's see. We are now talking about the recycling area shed. As correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I think.
And do you want to bring up anything else about the area and what's possible at this time, Tim?
From our conversation yesterday.
Yes.
Good. We've been talking to a rep from one of the solar companies, and they've been sort of advising since the expo, actually. And Don and I had a conversation with him yesterday, and do you want to just sort of give him?
Yes, there is a process for any commercial building which wants to exceed 50 kilowatts of solar power. It's called CESIR, or CESIR, we believe. And that's an application process through PSEG. That can be quite extended, can take a long time. It was suggested that the town might install solar up to that limit of 50 kilowatts, and then at some later point, enlarge the capability. And so these particular slides, I think are on the low side as far as the kilowatt power generated. Sorry. I guess I don't know more than what is on the slide.
Okay,
But that's fine, that was a good.
but we'll actually, this Thursday's Green Committee meeting,
Yeah.
we'll talk more.
Yeah.
Could
Go
I
ahead,
just say
Christine.
yeah, thanks. So the recycling shed potential annual generation is up to 88.8 megawatt hours. And of course, then you've got the highway department, which is at 120, that shed, 127 megawatts. So that's well over the 50. And there is this rather lengthy process for getting approvals if you go over 50, as you mentioned. And so that's why I think this is trying to fly under that radar, under the 50. Well, it's actually over it, but anyway, so we could be generating a lot more power, but that is something I think that could be phased in over time. But I'm not quite sure where these 53 and 54 figures came from. Well, I'm sorry, these are kilowatts, not megawatt hours. Sorry. Okay.
Okay. So we'll go on to the residential. All scenarios provide significant cost savings with payback periods of 7 years or less. Adding storage, battery storage, can provide up to 5.2 hours of backup power operating at maximum power. Again, depends upon battery charge, demand, and solar generation at time of outage. There is a significant reduction in CO2 emissions, as well as costs from switching to an air source heat pump. Energy efficiency measures reduce the size of the solar array needed and provide the same renewable energy fraction.
This photovoltaic site was just chosen for a typical house needs. And the battery size also was chosen by NREL for a typical house needs. It's my belief that it is really quite low. It is much too low because we, of course, use electric power for water. We use electric power sometimes for other functions that was not taken into account in their analysis. So in any event, their payback periods are on the order of 6 or 7 years, and a significant cost savings for this typical residential house.
So one thing that we did after the expo this summer was have a solar house tour, which actually attracted a fair number of people. And I think one of the goals going forward, which we'll get to actually, maybe I shouldn't speak now, but is actually encouraging residential solar. But we'll talk more about that. Then there was a geothermal analysis overview. And again, I believe, according to the current code, traditional geothermal as we think of it is currently not allowed on Photo Island. So one of the interesting things about this this collaboration with NREL was introducing us to different technologies that we may not have been aware of. In this case, there's a closed loop system that are designed to be completely sealed off hydraulically from the surrounding soil and rock formations and rely on conductive heat transfer in the subsurface. A horizontal closed loop slinky system was analyzed for Shelter Island. It's viable for residential. It's buried 6 to 10 feet below the surface, which is very different from what we think of for traditional geothermal. And due to shallow depth, the system will not interact with the fresh saline water boundary of the Shelter Island aquifer. And the photograph sort of shows what it looks like. Ben was up in Alaska for an NREL conference, and he got to see this in person.
When you say see it, it was underground and you couldn't see anything,
I know.
which was the point.
Exactly.
It just was grass.
Exactly.
And, I guess our restriction here at Shelter Island was originally based on the fact that, original geothermal systems went straight down.
Okay.
And many of them would have pierced the aquifer here. But the newer systems are horizontal and pose no danger to the aquifer. So it is a piece of the code, yet another piece of the code that deserves some revisiting.
Yes.
Because it is an incredibly efficient way to approach, our energy use problem.
Yes.
And it poses no danger environmentally
Yes.
to our aquifer.
Yes, and so one of the examples they use for the school, which may have limited ability for solar arrays, there's already a solar array on the roof, but we don't know how much of the roof can actually be accessed for solar. So one of their suggestions was to use one of these slinky systems to heat and cool the school. And they took as an example, again, this is an example, we're not proposing this be done, Fisk Field for a potential horizontal slinky ground loop geothermal system to support the Shoulder Island School. Available land area analyzed as, I converted this to feet, 410 feet by 410 feet, which is approximately 4 acres. The system would require 41 trenches at 406 feet per trench. So it's not simple. NREL reviewed information on the Shoulder Island freshwater aquifer to ensure that no impacts to water supply. The school heating load was estimated at 2,216.
That's billion BTUs per year. So it's actually 2.2 giga BTUs per year. And that's just based on the heating fuel used, roughly 16,000 gallons of number 2 heating fuel in 2011 to 2004.
So it's
And that, by the way, because of the efficiency of the furnaces, is probably a high number. The school would probably require much less.
and again, the school could probably benefit from
An audit.
energy audit, just to make it less drafty and other stuff.
Well, I mean, there was some data, we're not sure how accurate it was, but there was some suggestion that amount of heating oil for that size facility was out of whack.
And that could be our data too.
It could be our
It could
data,
be our data.
but it's
All of our
definitely.
old buildings should have an energy audit.
Yes,
Right,
exactly. And this also goes for residences. Further coordination with the school is required to collect more load information. Since a complete school heating cooling load was not available for this analysis, NREL ran multiple scenarios and determined a geothermal system under Fisk Field that could potentially fully offset the heating load of the school. Sarah Gordon was involved, and so we did look at Sylvester Manor for a couple of things. They've already been putting solar array in some of their buildings, but they looked at a larger array in one of the fields and a potential community solar that would allow for crops and livestock to exist with the solar. Hurdles include, at the moment, the cost of PSEG upgrades and who pays for them, plus some other hurdles. So that's something that the manor may consider in the future. Community solar. Not everybody can put up their own solar array, so there are other ways of tapping into solar that aren't even on Shoulder Island. A customer signs up for the community solar project with a specific subscription percentage and pays a fee to a generator facility. Community solar project feeds electricity directly to the grid. Production credits, are distributed to the customers based on their subscriber percentage. The allotted kilowatt hour is included on the customer's bill as a credit. And again, to what I just said, community solar is a useful alternative for customers unable to install solar due to tree cover or other reasons, but who wish to save money and reduce their carbon footprint. So that's something else
That's
for,
available now.
pardon?
That's available now.
Yes, that is available.
Right.
That is available now, and it's something that we should consider.
Yeah, I signed up for it. It's a 10% credit against my bill.
Uh-huh.
And I guess PSC&G runs it out of the Brookhaven Community Solar Farm that they built. And then, but it's available now.
Yep. And then the next slide just shows how community shared solar works, which I can either walk through the slide or
We can skip.
skip it.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll
moving
get
ahead.
into it deeper later on.
Yep, we will. Tidal energy. We also, there's a picture here of the South Ferry, and I just want to reiterate again, we're not planning anything for the South Ferry right now. This is merely an example. We all know the tide rose through there very, very strongly, though not on this particular day. Tidal technology is being developed with small-scale demonstration projects in the US and around the world. Preliminary assessments include potential tidal resources in the Shelter Island area, but further study is needed to determine the best location. The TEAMER program, TEAMER program under the Department of Energy could provide technical support for further site characterization. The levelized cost of energy, LCOE, for marine energy typically ranges from $1 to $5
Dollars.
per kilowatt hour, with these expected to drop over time. And one of the drawbacks is this is not an easy thing to get off the ground. A pilot project typically takes 10 years from beginning to end. So again, there's no immediate action recommended, but this is something worth keeping in mind. It could be something that would happen actually, for instance, off island in the Sound near the race, which also has very strong tides. Okay, now we move on to the actual residential case studies. And I'm just going to show two of the houses. We actually had four houses when we did the house tour, but we'll just focus on two right now. This is a Cobbetts Lane house with solar. The project overview is 5.9 kilowatt rooftop solar array installed in 2020. The total installation cost is $21,559. New York State and federal tax credits were $10,605. Estimated savings, home electricity use, 7,800 kilowatt hour per year. Estimated solar energy production around 7,720 kilowatt hour per year. Prior to solar installation, electricity costs were around 2,700 per year. Post-installation electricity costs are 300. So there's significant savings there. Solar indirect grid emission savings, 3.74 ton CO2 per year, equivalent to using 382 gallons of gasoline or charging 2,074, 303 smartphones. This solar project offsets 99% of electricity use and saves $2,400 annually in electricity costs. And then one other example on Linda Road. This house has solar plus a heat pump and plus there was weatherization of the house. A 4.3 kilowatt rooftop solar array installed in 2019, 36,000 BTU GREE air source heat pump installed in 2022, substantial weatherization and re-insulation of the house. Total installation cost after incentives, solar was $8,000, heat pump was $24,000, included new ductwork, and weatherization was $12,000. Estimated savings, home electricity use was 4,200 kilowatt hour per year. Estimated solar energy production, 5,300 kilowatt hour per year. Prior to installation, electricity and heating costs were 1,200 per year. Post-installation, heating and electricity costs are $200 per year. Heat pump direct emission savings, 2.72 ton CO2 per year. Solar indirect grid emission savings, 2.54 ton CO2 per year, equivalent to using 259 gallons of gasoline or charging 186,291 smartphones. This solar project offsets 100% of electricity use and saves $1,000 annually in electricity costs. So now we move into the next steps. Focus area, encourage the use of renewable energy sources. And we sort of picked between 2025 and 2028 as possibly reasonable timeframe. Coordinate with school officials to investigate a solar and storage project. Pursue a solar installation at the recycling center. Develop a long-term 10-year plan for community solar to reduce rate pressure on island residents and improve resiliency. Evaluate the use of geothermal energy. Coordinate with local contractors for site-specific estimates for Fisk Field, and this could apply, I assume, for anybody who would be interested in installing this type of system on their property if there was room. Energy efficiency, coordinate with school officials to investigate possible energy efficiency solutions. Promote residential energy audits. Continue to improve the energy efficiency of town facilities and fleets. Tackle the climate smart communities action items. And then community engagement. Use ETIP's findings to work with PSE to help develop an energy plan. Organize and execute a residential clean energy forum to share ETIP analysis and recommendations on how island homeowners can evaluate and implement solar, heat pump, and geothermal solutions. So that sort of takes us through what the project was and what the recommendations are. The remainder of the slides have frequently asked questions, such as, and I'm not going to go through them all, I'll just read the titles. Should I consider an air source heat pump? Solar and storage analysis overview. What are the benefits and potential risks of an energy storage system? For instance, Southampton just recently, actually in June, updated their code. They
You want
updated.
slides to follow?
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
the slides need to advance.
Yep, sorry. Southampton adopted a new BEST code. BEST stands for Battery Energy Storage Facility.
Yeah, next
No.
slide.
And that's for larger sort of battery storage systems. The next slide, what are the incentives available? Again, things have been changing and will keep changing. Is it time to visit geothermal on Shelter Island? Again, to look at the newer technologies for geothermal.
Could I just make one thing?
Of course you can.
On in terms of what incentives are available, they are changing. They've been reduced recently. However, every scenario that we looked at showed a significant financial incentive, even without incentives. So in other words, it makes sense for the town, it makes sense for individual homeowners to go with solar technology, whether there are incentives or not.
Yes. And then we have, and then there's this next slide is information about our aquifer. The next slide. Yes, it explains solar net metering in more depth. And the next slide has aquifer information. And then following that is an appendix, which explains and shows in a very nice chart that Don has created, the time of day rates. And after that, key modeling assumptions for behind the meter and solar storage analysis. This again is our NRELS figures and PS&G electricity rates. Again, this came from PS&G. And that's what we have.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions? Well, we're still waiting for the final report.
Yes,
I was gonna say, where do we
Yes.
stand on this?
yes.
It has a whole vetting process before it's allowed to be released, so it's undergoing that process. Hopefully, we'll see it sometime soon.
Yes, and that will be a much thicker volume.
Right.
This is really sort of created as a slide deck for the public and for you, which we customized. Not changing the data, just adding photographs and making it more island-centric.
So that'll be a much larger document that we'll have, and when we get it
Yes.
posted on the website, and I think NREL will want to do a presentation. for-
Yes, actually, Brian Metlick from NREL has offered to actually come here in person. I don't know if that's still on the table, but, or he would do it on Zoom, one way or another.
And then as far as trying to like pursue implementation, would that be something that your committee would then pick up and start to like try and work with the school, talk to
Yes.
Public Works?
Yes, well, we've already, you know, when we were sort of started gathering information with this, we sat down with Mike Dunning, Brian Dolger, a lot with Mike, and talked about what we're doing. And again, Mike gave us a tour to show us everything. So we would certainly continue working with them. And Mike is actually very keen, I think, on sort of more green energy for the school in different ways. So I think we'd have a partner there. And then again, as Don mentioned, and Christina has also been involved in this conversation with trying to get solar at the recycling center sooner than later.
That's something that we could probably pick up with capital planning and grants.
Mhm.
Because we have some of the basic, I mean, we have a lot of the information we need to start planning something with the recycling center and some of the background information, but we need to get sort of our possible grant funding in line, financials, costs, analysis, do all that. So that's something that, you know, we can kind of work on in capital planning and grants and then combine with green options and work together.
You know, the one thing I do want to mention, and Christine, or maybe Don, you want to speak to this, is there is a time for, it's a time-sensitive project now.
Yeah.
Because incentives are going to go away, and I think it's 2027.
Yes,
No.
that's what we were told, is through 2027 for commercial installations.
Right.
Right,
And
but it's
that's-
not, could I just say, a
Jump in.
project, a project needs to be substantially underway. It doesn't mean you have to start construction, but I think there needs to be an agreement in place by the end of June 2026. So that's actually coming up really pretty quickly. So it's a matter of whether we could get the financing, but we can, and we'll talk about this on Thursday, we can get some help in developing an RFP and reviewing bids from a national solar energy organization. It's a nonprofit who's offered to help us. So, you know, we have a lot of the pieces in place. I think it's a matter of whether we can move quickly enough to take advantage of the still existing federal subsidy for commercial and municipal buildings, solar arrays.
Right, and we can also look into infrastructure grants too, not necessarily solar specific, but improving municipal infrastructure, there might be money for that. And it may not matter if it's solar or something else. So, you know, we can look beyond just the solar incentives to see what the town could qualify for.
Yeah, I mean, these are very specific suggestions.
Yeah.
But obviously, if there are other things we can do,
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
should pursue it.
Yeah.
We're not sticking to this program.
No, I think it's great.
So, anybody else?
I just converted my house into a heat pump. Okay, I'd be glad to share the statistics with you. It's because it's brand new. I was always on oil, and this heating season now I'm strictly on a heat pump. So I'll have some data for you.
Good.
Okay.
No, but I mean,
The other thing that seemed to have come up from time to time is with the solar panels, how the fire department, I'm sure you've heard all these things before, but I'll just mention them. I understand the fire department has an issue with solar on the roof in terms of when there is a fire in a residential building, they basically don't go on the roof. There's some issues there. It might be something for you to look at. Okay, then I had a number of homeowners during the year who had solar, and they were having problems with their homeowners insurance because the homeowners insurance was concerned about the age of the roof. So there are things that, and I don't know the outcome of it, but I'm just
usually
Looking out for
when the
things.
solar company goes to a house and looks at a roof, they'll say your roof needs to be replaced before we do it. Can't do it without that, so.
No, but I'm saying homeowners now, they're asking for they want to know the condition of your roof, meaning how old it is
Oh,
determines your rates, okay? So
oh,
I'm just throwing it out there as consideration.
oh,
Yeah, like the age of And I know for the battery storage, the fire district also
Yes.
has issues.
Yes, and I did talk to someone in Southampton about that specifically. And certainly our fire department should be involved in any discussion about battery storage.
These were all different ideas and options and
Yes.
concepts that we looked into. So we had some good baseline information to judge whether or not they would be right for the town. So some of them are also just kind of like theoretical concepts. So, you know, geothermal under Fisk Field may not be a reality or something we want to do, but just to know that it's possible to do it in a large scale if we had an area that we weren't using for anything, that, you know, it could fit for, it has potential to benefit. So it was just kind of a good practice on all of the opportunities and options we had, and then it gave us tools to look deeper into them. So
Yes.
pretty cool.
Because I recall the recycling center, okay, when they built that roof, that was with the intent of that being solar, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what happened to that and why it didn't move forward, but I remember that when that was being built, that was one of the advantages of putting a roof on.
Yes.
So that should be an easy reach.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that was our thought too.
Yep. Yes, but just reiterate what Meg said. Oh, these are all ideas. These are not things that but they're happening or going to happen soon. It's just, this is something to think about.
Does anyone in the public have? Greg the trucker? Does anyone on Zoom have any questions?
Yeah,
Oh,
on
Terry.
on the energy efficiency objective, which is one of the important takeaways from this project, we became aware of it's easy to say, you know, you need an energy audit, you know, which is really the first thing that any homeowner or really anything, if you're gonna do anything to a building of any kind, whether it's a home or a school, it starts with an energy audit. Otherwise, you don't know whether what you're getting ready to do is gonna help or not. You know, there's no point putting in a geothermal source of heat if your windows don't work or if you're, you know. So we found in the course of this that we don't have all the resources to offer energy audits to homeowners. It's something that is difficult to get, and Meg's been, you know, working with us to try to work through this. It's something that PSE&G has apparently some sort of obligation to provide, and they do make some effort to do that. They give lists of vendors, but as a practical matter, it's not a free service to anybody on Shelter Island. And it probably should be. Or at least, I'm even willing to pay, and you know. So that's something that we really need. I mean, you know, and the Green Options Committee has been working on that, but it's something that we need to figure out how to solve.
Like the issue that came up was all the people on the list wouldn't come to Shelter Island to do the audits. Like it wasn't
Right.
part of the territory that they would come.
PSE&G provides a list, but when you contact them, they say, oh, well, actually, we don't
You don't go there.
do that.
Yeah.
There's also, you know, the other issue with that is that vendors do these energy audits because they want to sell you stuff. And so since we haven't been able to get anybody here anyway, that issue hasn't really come up. But once we do get people who could come here, we're gonna have to figure that out too.
Amending my note to Ken, schedule energy audits. Liz, you had a question?
Oh, no, I just wanted to say that the question and comment around the solar and the fire department. There's like the questions around like the solar panels and like whether you had made a note, you had comment about that? But then there was a
Gordon did.
Oh, sorry, Gordon. I just happened to know that I believe 3 members of the fire department just went to California to complete a training on all of that, like on basically this exact issue. So I believe that they're due to give a training at the fire department. I wanna say like this Sunday or the next Sunday. So anyway, just like one of the chiefs, but there's like they like just got back, so there's like fresh info on this.
Okay, well, again, further discussion is needed with the fire department and other places where solar can go, or,
I guess it's on their mind too, just to
Yeah.
say.
actually, I talked to someone a year ago about this, and they said we would like to do it. It was a cost factor that was inhibiting them. I hadn't heard about other factors.
Anyone else on Zoom with questions? Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you. And the presentation's posted on the website for anybody who wants to look at it and get more information.
Yeah,
Go through the
good.
appendix and all that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the flashing lights are, yeah, headache, yes.
If it's filling up with water, we'll just take a moment.
Oil.
I'll get started just describing, I think Benjamin knows. We have on the agenda the Loretto dredging permit, and they are requesting an extension.
Right here.
Okay. It's okay. No, we can't shut the doors. Yeah, we can't shut them.
Close them.
No,
We'll leave them
Ron.
open, Ron.
We have to leave them open. It's a public meeting. Yeah. Okay, so we have the Loretto dredging permit. Last February 24th, 2025, we granted permission for his maintenance dredge. And it is a permit from the DEC that is good until, I think it was March. Oh, the DEC extended it to May 28th, 2027. And our permit expires March 5th, 2026, and they're just asking for another year extension on this.
Would that year extension make it equal to the DEC deadlines?
No, the DEC would be, that's what I was actually just going to back to ask you that question, Thomas. The permit that the DEC is granted is May 28th, 2027. And last year, I believe we changed the legislation so we could grant 2-year extensions on these?
I
Or
think so. I thought
I'm trying to remember the exact,
I thought we were trying to make it so that we could match the DEC.
right, and that's what I would like to do.
Yeah.
So you don't have to answer it right now, but I just wanted to like canvass the board, like it's either a year, if that's what is only in code, or if we can grant it to the end of the DEC permit extension. So that way the Lorettos don't have to come every year and request permission. So I'm good with matching it with the DEC. Benjamin, we're going over the Loretto permit, and my question is, Thomas is going to investigate whether or not, I think we changed some code last year, but it was like just such a minor code change that we run our permits with the same timeline as DEC permits.
Yes, because that's caused a problem in the past.
Yes, yes, so I was going to just make sure Thomas double checks that. He doesn't have to check it right now, but before Monday's meeting,
Yeah.
the resolution will be written with either a 1-year extension or to run to May 28th, 2027. So if no one has a problem with that, that was it for this discussion. And because it's an extension, it's not something that requires WMAC approval because they gave the approval last year.
Right.
Okay. All right. If there's no questions on that, we'll move along. Next item on the agenda is another easy one. It's Peconic Bay Region Advisory Committee, just a revision to the IMA. And as all the towns looked at this, there was one town board that wanted to just amend a couple of things, and so it came back to the 5 towns to take a look at this IMA. And you have a copy, and if you look on page 3, one of the changes was originally, so, do the side by side. One change was it was going to be for a longer term, and then as the committee discussed it further, it was decided to just have this be a 1-year IMA, and then look at how it, how the whole process is going next year, what the costs are, if there's anything that needs to be done since this is new. So we agreed to just put it in for 1 year, and then later next year, we will take a look at it and see if there's any changes that are necessary. So it had read, remain until effective until such time as the provisions of Town Law 64E or any extensions expire, which was presently December 31st, 2050. Just the committee felt that was too long. So it's just, that's one change. It was a shortened change. Under regional council, what was added there was, after the first sentence, the original draft that we had seen back in the summer was just establishing the office of council, but now it just puts in upon that the committee, so the council will render written interpretations and/or opinions to the advisory board upon request by no less than 3/5 majority of the members. And that was so that, just a cost factor, since the 5 towns are shouldering the cost of this, we wanted to be able to have a vote to say, yes, we want council to work on this. And just,
Right.
because something might be frivolous and we don't want council to just pick it up and do something with it. Yes. And also, there may be times where the committee of 11 members may be able to look at something and say, oh, well, this is our opinion on it. It's not the full legal opinion. And issues, something from the committee, the council doesn't have to issue something more formal. So that was just building something cost-wise. And any, on page 4, under the regional council operation, excuse me, the F was any new appointment or continued appointment of the regional council shall require the unanimous consent of member towns. That I don't think had been specified before. And then if we wanted to remove regional council, it requires a supermajority of the member towns. And that was it. I believe Southampton and East Hampton have already adopted this as is, and so I wanted to put this on for Monday night so that we can go ahead and adopt it. We'd like to set up the first meeting in January. It will be an organizational meeting. It's too soon to start bringing issues to the committee, but at least we can get the attorney on board and get, who's going to be the chair of the board for the first year, and kind of all of the, nuts and bolts to get this up and running. So if no one has an issue, we will go ahead and put this on for Monday night.
But just to review the membership, the 11 members, it's the 5 supervisors, right?
It's the 5 supervisors or their designee.
Right.
And then it's 1 representative from the villages. So all,
Villages meaning like Greenport,
yes,
so forth. Okay.
they have selected,
So we have 5 of those, I guess, right?
no, there's like 10 or 11
Deering
villages. Yeah, Deering Harbor's part of it, West Hampton Beach, there's like, so it's either 10 or 11 villages. So they have selected Greenport for the first year to be the representative. And then there's,
Legislators.
they're not actually members. So
I'm just trying to get the count of the 11.
yeah, off the top of my head, so we've got 6 covered, so that's 5 more. So we've got the Nature Conservancy is putting someone on,
Okay.
someone from the Suffolk County Historical Society, because there is a history piece of the 64E legislation. We have,
What's it called? Estuary Partnership on
I'm trying to remember, it's been a while since we've had a meeting as all of the towns, like are getting this
So there's
information.
one member from each town.
One member from each town, yes,
Okay,
and then 5 members.
or designated, okay.
So there's the Historical Society, there's the Nature Conservancy. Might be, actually, if I look quickly at an email, I might be able to. Person. Yeah, it's been a little bit since we've talked because the towns had to get back together to just make sure we were okay with the. Yes, the most recent meetings have been focused on the IMA.
If you go to page 5,
Mhm.
it should be listed there. So 11 members, member town supervisor or designee, representative of village government to be jointly selected by the villages in Peconic Bay region. 5 members selected by the state legislative representatives representing Peconic Bay region with expertise in land preservation, environmental protection, water quality protection, agriculture, historic preservation, or parks and recreation. So that's your 11.
Yes, but we actually made recommendations to Tommy John Schiavone to say, and, Senator Palumbo, to say, we thought that these would be good representatives for our communities.
Oh, good.
So we had some say, and they were willing and accepting of the recommendation. So then they reached out to the Nature Conservancy, and Kevin McDonald was selected as the person from that organization. So I'll continue to look, and I can get you what organizations were selected. I know I have it somewhere here in an email. Any other questions?
So this advisory committee will be CPF and WQIP.
Because it's all under that.
Housing is not included in that.
No.
No.
Okay, if there's no more questions, the next item on the agenda was the 2026 holiday schedule. And you all should have gotten a copy of a petition that was circulated. And it was signed by members of the building department, the supervisor's office, the town clerk's office, tax receiver, assessor's office, nutrition program, senior program, justice court. I think the only one that's not in here is recreation. But I have a feeling they would not have a problem with this. So what they were asking for, I won't read the whole letter, is they would like to update the town employees' holidays to better reflect the needs of today's workforce. And they would like to remove Election Day as a holiday and substitute in the day after Thanksgiving. And the reasoning being is Election Day, when Election Day was, you could only go vote between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m., and it was hard for some people. That's changed in lieu of the 10 days of early voting that we get, and also the fact that it is easier to get absentee ballots. And then we are also, per our employee handbook, on Election Day, if you have not had, if you haven't voted, you can still get a 2-hour window to go and vote. So the other thing being is that the day after Thanksgiving, it is a ghost town here. So between employees who will take a vacation day so that they can have a 4-day weekend to go visit family, the staff who are here, very few calls come in from the public needing things because a lot of the world is taking the day after Thanksgiving off. So they wanted to have us consider changing that. I double checked with Labor Council to make sure that there was nothing in the police union contract or the highway contract, because there was something in my mind that was stuck that if town hall was closed, that it then threw highway into time and a half pay for that day. But on further investigation, that's only in emergency closures. So if we were to close town hall because of a snowstorm or a nor'easter or something like the hurricane, then its highway is not getting the town closure because they're actually out there working generally. They get paid time and a half for that. That does not apply for a planned closure, and police have nothing in their contract that speaks to that. So there's no additional cost to the town if we approve this change. And next year, 2026, we will be in negotiations with both unions, police and highway. So we'll see whether or not they want to take away Election Day from their holiday schedule and substitute the day after Thanksgiving. But that can't be done until we open up those negotiations. So that's.
The general election day is not a holiday, it's not a federal holiday.
It's not a federal holiday.
Except for, I think, isn't it the general election, like presidential elections, isn't that a holiday?
That's a good question. I didn't think it was.
Well, the other issue is, this makes total sense,
Mm-hmm.
but only because we have 10 days of early voting
Yes.
and we have,
Makes sense, right?
so without that, it doesn't make so much sense. So
Right.
should we make this contingent upon the existence of early voting and easy access to ballot? Because if you look across the country, there's certainly a movement to shut that down.
Well, and wasn't there a year where we didn't have early voting
There
on the
was a
island?
year,
And
but then
that-
we petitioned the
Yes.
county to reinstate it on Shelter Island, citing our senior population and.
No, it makes sense as long as we have early voting and easy access to absentee ballots. If that's the condition, then yeah, this makes nothing but sense all day long.
Mhm. So you'd want to, I'm just trying to think, because what this change would be, I'd have to check to see whether or not, like, what kind of resolution we do, or if it's just a policy change in the employee manual, which is in the process of getting. It is a local law? Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, we were going, the employee handbook is in the process of being updated, and so we were trying to get all of those changes in place, and then anything that we have in code that is not consistent with what's in the employee handbook, and there's numerous inconsistencies that have been developed over the year. I think even starting with what the minimum wage is for certain clerks or something like that. So what we were going to do is get the employee handbook drafted, cleaned up, and then take all of the sections in town code that are inconsistent. And most likely, I think for the things that we need to legally keep in, we'll get those updated. And then if there are things that don't need to be in town code, which we oftentimes have things that just don't make sense, like minimum wage for certain clerk position, we just pull those things out. So, but we'll have to, like, Thomas will have to draft the legislation, we'll have to have a public hearing to change those things, but we're going to do it all in one fell swoop sometime in early 2026. But I guess, yeah, for now, I will have to do a resolution since it's currently in our code. But then I think in the future, we'll pull it to say it's in the employee handbook and when we adopt the employee handbook. So I guess we could put something in the employee handbook that states if we ever lose early voting, then in that year, Election Day is a holiday and the day after Thanksgiving is not.
Yeah, kind of makes sense.
We still have those 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have those 2 hours, but if someone is traveling from off island, they may not be able to. Although, I mean, I guess they could come in late, stay for 2 hours. Any thoughts other than
Just
that
to
one?
confirm, Election Day is not a federal holiday.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't think it was. Because I know the school chooses to close because voting is there.
Right.
Was it a federal holiday when we were kids? Why do I remember it as a federal holiday?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, some different states have made it like a public holiday, but it depends on where you are.
I think we know that the day after a holiday is usually a very quiet period. I just don't know, is there any reason to have backups? It's not to make anybody's life miserable, but it's like, is there a reason to have someone in-house on the day after Thanksgiving just for informational purposes rather than having a town facility closed for 4 days in a row? I guess that's the question I would ask. If someone would be, you could do, obviously, in business, what they do is they rotate people with days off, okay? And I'm not suggesting that we not consider this. I'm just saying, is there something that we should be looking at that's more significant of an emergency? Because you really have 4 days of closure. It's like the post office, I think, doesn't close for 4 days in a row, okay, because of some technicality. But I mean, it's really something I can appreciate their concern, and I'm really all for it, but maybe there should be some kind of a rotating thing that there's someone present. I'm just throwing it out. I don't know what East Hampton does. I don't know what the Hamptons does.
All of the surrounding East End towns have the Thanksgiving day off, or the day after Thanksgiving off. Yes. Chief Reed, I think I know what you're going to say.
Election Day is a state holiday. Just to throw that in there. Sorry, Chief, you're up. Go ahead.
No, I just, Highway has a floating holiday in their contract. Is there some logic to that? Because I agree with Councilman Gooding that there is times where there's merit to having somebody in our public or government facilities that may need something on that day. I know it's a ghost town, and I agree with your supervisor, but maybe make that a floating holiday, and if they feel they need it, they could take it, but you could still work with employees that may want to come in and use that holiday at another time. Just a thought.
Yeah, what I envision on the supervisor's side of the building, no one will want to work that day, and therefore we will have to close. And I suspect the town clerk's office would be the same, so no one would want to be here that day,
There are no essential
considering they've all
services
signed.
in this building.
Yeah, I mean, in an emergency, police and EMS are available.
Well, town hall wouldn't really respond to an emergency.
I know, but I mean, yeah.
Nothing I can think of that goes on in this building. It's gonna be an emergency.
Yeah, I was thinking, because there's not parking permit season, it's,
Right.
and if it's advertised, anyone who wants to renew a fishing license, clamming, I don't even know what the periods are, marriage license.
Hunting license? I don't know, do we even issue this? So,
I don't know, I'm inclined to give it a try.
I think it's fun.
Yeah. Because we are, in order to make this change, we have to do a public hearing, and we'll hear from the public if the public seems to think that it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this? Although I guess, we shouldn't, because it's going to be a public hearing, yeah. Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is Titonis. I did get a call from Mr. Titonis last week, and there was a miscommunication. We had a public hearing at the last town board meeting, and neither the applicant nor his representative from Costello Marine was here to talk about the dock application and the changes that they wanted to make instead of having the ones that we are proposing to put on them. So I'm inclined to let them come and we hear what they have to say.
yeah, I would agree. It was weird that
No one was
haven't-
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that they weren't here. So
Yeah.
I'm in favor of reopening the hearing.
I recused myself from the original matter, so
Okay.
I'm going to continue to recuse myself.
Okay,
Good consistency then.
okay. All right, that leaves you for the moment, Gordon.
I'm sorry, where are you?
I'm saying let's reopen the public hearing. We'd have to, with the 30-day notice, it won't be until February 2nd. But
I have no problem. That's fine.
Christine, if you could just add that to the, I think I already have a note. To set the public hearing. The next item on the agenda was to look at the ethics code update. And I have to admit that with everything else going on in the past week, I did not get a chance to proofread in detail and transcribe any comments that I had from my existing draft to current red and green line draft. I don't know if anyone else.
No, I didn't get a chance to go over this the way I wanted to. So if we could put it off to the next,
Yes, it would be January.
that's fine. Okay. Then I will have gone through it with a fine tooth comb.
Okay. All right,
January 12th.
January, I'll take a look at the agenda to see, because we got January 6th.
That's the first one, we have 5th.
The 5th is a town board meeting, and then January 6th would be the first town board work session. So either the 6th or the 13th. But I'll have to take a look at those agendas to see where. If we could just pop it on to the 6th, so that way it's not forgotten. And we can do it. I'll move as needed. Board member reports.
Nope, none, none.
I just had WAC and kind of went over a summary of all their objectives and how many they've met, how many they've moved on. One of the things that they're looking into is the USGS groundwater study and trying to figure out the full picture on that, because I was only able to find pieces of the original. And so we're trying to figure out if the difference in cost from the original 3-year study to the new proposal is actually as dramatic as it presents, but I don't think it is. So we're just working on figuring out the details of that. And otherwise it was moderate drought status. And that was kind of it, talking about the game plan for the new year.
And then did Community Housing Board meet last week?
Yes, Community Housing Board met. Nothing really crazy happened in that meeting. They're still working on the LOI,
Mhm.
and otherwise it was just kind of status quo.
Gordon, did you have anything?
Yes, this is my last meeting on the.
Last work session.
Ironically, this is an issue that, not having a physical office, that I left papers on my desk, so I'm reading from my phone, okay? 'Cause I had made some notes to myself, so you'll pardon this, okay? Looking at it, I'm looking at some of the disappointments of the year, okay? And I would be less than honest if I didn't say one of the disappointments I have is that I was unable to get anything going in the municipal building septics, the wastewater here, okay? I think that, a lot of time had passed, okay? And I hope in the coming year, okay, you're able to get that in place, okay? Obviously, there are many other things, but I'm going to just leave off with this, okay? I was thrilled to work for the town, not only as a board member for a short stint, but also being in community preservation. It really gave me a real view of what the needs are of the community, okay? And the complexity, okay, and the different people here, okay? We really are very fortunate to have such a wonderful group of people who come from various backgrounds, and we need to use them, okay, and listen to them. I made a wish list, okay, for the new board for 2026, okay? And I think Liz Handley hit on something today that was published, okay? And I have to give you a real credit because I felt to myself that as a board member, a lot of times where, at least talking for myself, we've been in the dark, okay? And I think the idea of having office hours and having designated time in town hall, okay, I think that is a real plus. I tried to fool around with a little bit of that during the year by having meetings on Thursdays. I think this is the next step, okay, of really getting to be readily available for the public to hear their points of view. So I give you that's a real plus. I wish I had come up with that idea, okay?
I based it on your Islander thing, so.
I think the other thing is, just a few comments, okay? I'd like to make sure that the board remains to be open-minded to other opinions. And the second item is, don't go it alone. Reach out for more science-based professional help when you need it. Third point is to be careful in the drive for public water and the risks it may have. I think you really need to look at that really carefully. We all know the push for development and what that brings along with it, increased density is here. And I suggest you be prudent and you be cautious of where you're going with it. Because we now have some big money that's really come here. Above all, the rules apply to everyone, whether you've been on the island for generations or a new resident, rich or poor, the rules apply to everyone. And I want you to continue to do that. And finally, don't be afraid to say no, even if it's unpopular, okay? I think that, we serve as public figures. It's not about us. We're supposed to be working for the people. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your time on the board.
Yep.
We're going to go into executive session. We have a number of items, discussing a contract, reviewing the employment history of an employee. We have an interview for one of our open board positions. So if I could have a motion to go into executive session. Motion?
So,
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.